and the other clinical work which has been discussed in the previous session. So we have a keynote address setting up a wet lab and introducing the OSCAR, Dr. Sunil.
Thank you. I thank the organizers and Dr. Partha Biswas and everybody who's worked hard. Some of my disclosures are, I am with the CPD and CME committee, and we run courses for teachers, and some of these courses are paid. So otherwise, there are no other disclosures that I have to make. So like we talk about presentations, there has to be an attention grabbing slide. So a doctor watched surgery on YouTube before he performed a surgery which went fatal, and the patient died, and there was a lawsuit, and it was found that he had never done a surgery, and he had just seen it on YouTube and then done the surgery. So this is something that we are talking about. So the objectives are, the participants at the end of the presentation should be able to enumerate 4 objective tests for surgical competence assessment, use ICO OSCAR for own students, state 4 differences between direct and video observation, and state 2 pros and 2 cons for video observation. So I'm not going to go through the pre-test, but just keep in mind, so the point of this pre-test or the question is that what is better, direct or video observation. So keep this in mind when you're looking through the presentation, and what are the objectives and advantages, and why does surgical recording for teaching purpose need a consent. So these are the things. So we know that the surgeon training and learning curve is pretty steep, and because of this we may have complications in patients. And we know that there are certain surgeries in which there are key steps that you want to focus on. So when we are looking at complications, we look at, when we are talking about teaching and we are looking at assessment of whether the teaching is proper or not, we look at 4 key steps which are the ones which cause complications in most surgeries, in most students. So like the incision, so you have either a tunnel which is a premature entry, or sometimes it is a tunnel which is the roof is too thin. Sometimes you have capsular access running through, sometimes phacoemulsification drops, and irrigation aspiration and PC runs during those times. So you identify through videos what are the steps in which most complications occur, and then you do something about improving those steps, observe those steps, and try to figure out how you can help the resident. So what we did start looking at is what is the effectiveness of setting up numerical targets. You have to do at least 40 surgeries before you come out into the open. You have to do at least 100 surgeries. So when we realize that this may not be essential, if you can do at least 10 surgeries, but in a very structured manner, something which has been handheld and with the help of an OSCAR. So you look at what is called as a progress rate, you have to look at the average progress rate and the increase in the average points. Now this is something as a slide. So you see that there is one resident A who falls into the cube very well. So there are trabeculectomies done, DCR, pterygium, turbinectomies, vitrectomy, other things, whereas the other one is skewed. So I become an eye surgeon, I don't want to be just with biceps. All I have is biceps, cataract surgery. No, I should be knowing all the other surgeries also. I should know vitrectomy, I should know pterygium, I should know other things also. So my triceps, my abs, my other things also. So there's been overall development. You can't literally focus only on cataract surgery. So when we look at this, when we're trying to deal with all types of surgeries, you want to look at whether you can give few surgeries of each type, and whether that can be assessed in a way to figure out where the student lies. So we started off with OSS. So I'm going through the history. We started off with OSS. OSS was a global rating score. So you will not be able to read this, but this is how the score used to be. So you had respect for tissue, and then you had time and motion, and you had knowledge and other things, and then you've put them across as 1 to 5 according to the Dreyfus scale. So I'll come to the Dreyfus scale. That shifted on to OSS. After that, it shifted on to this kind of a form in which you had too many things to fill. And then you had, you identified himself, you identified the options, described the procedures, identified risks, and how you did it as a novice or a beginner or an expert. Now, based on this, you would rather be, so according to the Dreyfus scale, you could be neither novice, beginner, advanced beginner, proficient or expert. So you're starting, so your desire to learn what you have seen videos and all, demonstrate microscope use, then you become a beginner. Advanced beginner, you can demonstrate 5 cases less than 45 minutes. Then proficient, you can do less than 30 minutes, 5 cases. And here you can do small pupil and other complicated cases also. So this is the scale: novice, beginner, advanced beginner, proficient and expert. And you are given when we moved from OSAX to Oscar, we moved into levels describing and breaking the surgery into various parts: draping, incision and paracentesis, viscoelastic, capsular access. So what you did according to your level, so you are unable to drape with minimal verbal instructions. Your lashes are mostly covered, one lash coming out, on all lashes covered, no lash coming out. And then you had to do this, so you are competent, no lash coming out. You are doing a viscoelastic capsular access, it's circular, there's no eccentricity anywhere. So based on this, you are given a score of 5, and when you score an overall 5 everywhere, so it's like gymnastics. So you got 10, 10, 10, 10, and you are Nadia Comaneci. You can juggle around inside do gymnastics in your anterior chamber and do whatever you want and come out with a full 10, full 10, full 10 in each step. So on the bars, full 10, on the floor, full 10. And that is a complicated thing to follow. So what we went into is direct observation. We'll look at videos instead of direct observation, the surgeon sitting there. Most of us don't have time. So you started looking at videos. So between direct observation where which is the most commonest thing, there were shortcomings that you had multiple trainees. I had 10 people to do, and I can't sit and do that complicated thing and ask that person to be Nadia Comaneci and try to make a Nadia Comaneci out of one person. I have 15 people to train. Observers cannot be masked. And when I was a student, when my teacher used to watch, my hand used to tremor. And if you tell me that there's a recording going on, my voice will start tremoring, and then I'll start talking very fast. And then I will get a complication. So these are shortcomings. So this is a surgery which is being done. What do you think? This is novice or expert? You look at the tremors, you look at the way the tissue is being handled, you look at movements which are happening, jerky movements. So based on this, you look at 4 or 5 things, and you will be able to say what this is. What do you think? What does everybody think? Novice or expert? Versus video observation, which is done after some time. So video observation which is done immediately, video observation which is done after some time. So you want to make out whether this Sachin Tendulkar played properly or not. You will go back, take a slow motion, be a commentator, and then say, let's look at the highlights again. And he went outside the off stump unnecessarily, and which is something that you didn't realize when you were commenting directly during the live show, right? So video observation in which trainee's performance is recorded and later evaluated. The method provides the assessor with enough time. So most of the time, when I am looking at a student, the only thing that I am thinking, abhi drop hoega, 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 down. And I'm not even thinking about, what was that? I had to see this thing. क्या देखना था मेरे को? अच्छा वो circular है कि नहीं देखना था? अरे incision तो मैं देखना भूल गया. कैसा था वो? कैसा था? I mean, I don't remember. So you have to video record and then go and slow motion, fast forward, back, go back again, rewind, and then see it again. That becomes much easier. When I do that, and I can do that, and I can take video grabs now, and I can put it into an artificial intelligence, and I allow the machine to tell me. Movements कितना था? एक instrument के ऊपर दूसरा instrument था क्या? Instrument were away from each other. Was it 45 degrees? Were you doing it the right way? So that you can, there are increased complexities that you can then address. You can do instrument tracking strategies, whether the instrument was shaking. I may not realize it from outside or a side scope, but the machine and the AI will realize it, whether the instrument was shaking. You see videos, and then you see this is how the draping is occurring, and this is the wrong draping occurring here because, and the wrong, this thing, it is going from inside out. So you're taking all the muck from the sac area and you're putting it all over the eye. So this is something that I have not realized when this was happening in front of me. But when I'm looking at the video, I was like, oh, ulta, it is from lateral to medial. So small things like this will get missed when you're like, drop hoega. Straight, wait, come up, out, move, I will do the surgery. No? So that is something. So then you look at levels and scores, and then there are times when we Snapchat it. So the youngsters will be interested. So they take a spectacle and they record the surgery and they Snapchat it to me, sir, mera last surgery. You have to be careful because privacy is not guaranteed, and somebody's got arrested for Snapchat. But Snapchat is still better because it will get deleted. So there is no way it can be traced back to you, right? So somebody did a Snapchat for a plastic surgery. Obviously, if I'm doing a breast reconstruction or a prostatectomy, I'll be shot in the head if I do Snapchat. I'm not supposed to do that. It has to be done with proper patient consent, right? So summarizing, objective scoring of residents can be done easier by Oscars, video Oscars specifically. Balance needs to be maintained. Video observation may have a great role to play, but you have to keep in mind HIPAA issues and privacy and consent issues. Now going to the next thing, that once you've done, this was supposed to be setting up the lab first and then the Oscars, because then you're supposed to see that. But I changed the order because once you know that this is what you're planning to do, then your wet lab will be something that helps you do what we were doing in the first stage, and the same thing has to be done in the wet lab also. So this is something that most people don't see. Most of the wet labs are just time pass, because eyes are not going to be lost. It's anyways a pig's eye, it's anyways a cow's eye. So क्या फर्क पड़ता है? करो तुमको जो करना है वो. And so your same things have to happen during the wet lab also. So wet lab is a very specialized thing. It's not just something that you go and a conference and then you go and move your hand around on some pig's eye and then get out and say, okay, fine, I got a certificate saying that I'm good in, trained in Ologen or trained in Ahmedwal. Right? So the objectives is here three rationals: importance of curriculum. The curriculum is what is important. 6 types of wet labs which can be set up, and 6 steps of setting up a wet lab, and 3 funding possibilities locally, and 4 ways of maintaining sustainability. Because you can have a wet lab, but you cannot sometimes have a sustainability. So what's the purpose of the wet lab? I'll just take 2 minutes. Can I? Yeah. So what is the purpose of the wet lab? It decreases the surgical complications or the beginning surgeons that can harm the patients, and it facilitates adaptation to new techniques. So when you're learning, you have to demand this, or maybe you can do this on your own if you're a resident, but if you're a teacher, you are supposed to do this for the students. So why do we need a wet lab? Because the patient can practice at own pace. The student can practice his own pace and abilities. I want to do the tunnel 4 times. I can't do tunnel 4 times on the same patient, but I can do tunnel 4 times on the pig's eye, right? It is without danger, stress, and it develops skills, develops coordination, and arrive better prepared to your first patient. Right? The rationale is it's a structured training. Steep learning curves in some procedures are deleted and they don't become steep. The primum non necessary, first no harm is something, so no eyes are lost in training. And the consent for allowing training, patients may not give sometimes. This is my resident who's going to do on you. Nobody might consent on that. So we are doing that without consent, so that's something that should not be done. And minimal surgical training requirement is required. So the learning problem we see, this is before the number of cases, less than 60 cases, that's a complication rate. More than 60 cases, less than 80 cases, more than 80 cases, the complication rate. So you know that the number of cases are better to the cases on the pig's eye. So you do the wet lab, you prepare written curriculums, you know that we are going to do this. Do not make it optional. Schedule a time when it runs, and either block clinic time or after work. A structured wet lab will have a goal and objective, pre and post didactic testing. So you will do a didactic, you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to do this. So when you go in for the wet lab here, the reason why I was talking here, because there's going to be a wet lab here, you insist that, sir, please tell me what I'm supposed to do. Then let me do. And then after that, please tell me what I did right and please tell me what I did wrong, right? And there are faculty sessions should be every week when you're doing it in your this thing. So design template, a template should be there for each case. What is the reason you're doing this surgery in this particular pig? So this pig has got glaucoma and this is the case. This what should be achieved? You are supposed to achieve without tearing the conjunctiva. What are the features of this procedure that make it different from trabeculectomy instead of desclectomy? Why this Ologen is better or why this thing is there? And review the understanding. Types of wet lab, anatomical, hand-eye coordination, steps of surgery to be demonstrated, simulation machines, VR wet labs and augmented wet labs. So I'll just run through one of this. That's the 5 things. Anatomy for endoscopy. While I'm teaching endoscopy, I take the students first to the endoscopy lab. Then you look at the practice session where your surgical instrument training, you hold the instrument, hold and show me video recording of this holding movements of the eye. You're holding the pen like, you're holding the instrument like this. This is not going to work. They're supposed to hold the instrument like this. You're holding it too far, you're holding it too near. So that's a wet lab, right? So how do you hold the instrument? Then how you do the suturing techniques on a plastic or this thing, that's another type of wet lab. Yeah. And cadaveric plus this thing, simulated work. And 6 steps, your physical space. You have to obtain eyes. Be careful when you are doing it with coronavirus around, when you're taking pig's eyes or something like that. Fix the eyes. Feedback is important. Find, so one lab in Johnson & Johnson in Mumbai has closed down because it's not sustainable, so funding is important. You look at video presentation, skill transfer, group discussion, then you are talking about simulators. You have VR in surgical training, there's no time and training in OT. So training in OT is something that is also done as a wet lab, and you have to remember that